the 7 principles of Law of Attraction 2.0. It's actually Law of Attraction 1.0 too, but I've done this for the purpose of making it clear that what we're doing is we're diving into it in a way that, as far as I know, hasn't been done before. I really want to cover all the aspects of this that have probably been left out in your understanding of it, which is why your manifestation of it is incomplete. I see 7 principles, and I'm going to go into them one at a time. Principle I want to go into is that the law of attraction, principle number 1, is that the law of attraction is a spiritual law. It is a spiritual law. It is a metaphysical law. It is a law of the inner being. It operates inside of you and gets reflected outside of you. So why is this the first principle? Why is it so important to get this first? Because we've all been conditioned to look for external validation. We've all been conditioned to look outside ourselves to find evidence that's going to convince the inside of us. And of course, that doesn't work. Now, according to science, if you can't measure something, it isn't real. Now, there's a lot of people, a lot of law of attraction teachers running around there saying that, well, science is proving the law of attraction is true. Quantum physics says, well, yeah, it says a lot of stuff. But that's not really important to me. There really aren't any instruments that can measure, proof positive, that there's a connection between what's going on inside of me and what's going on outside of my in the external world. We can't hook a bunch of machines up there and see the energy going back and forth, saying, see, there it is. So that kind of proof doesn't exist. I'm not sure it's ever going to exist. There's only one mechanism in the entire universe sensitive enough to detect the relationship between my inner and outer. And that is this body right here. The body you have right now is the only instrument sensitive enough to perceive that connection. And that's why I call it a spiritual law. It cannot be measured. So you don't need to justify it in physical terms. You don't need to have somebody on the outside, somebody with an authority with a lot of letters after their name say, yes, this is true. This is a matter of perception. It's a matter of your own interpretation of the events in your life. Everything about this boils down to feeling and seeing a connection where others can't see a connection. It's a totally subjective experience. Nothing against science. I have nothing against with validation and verification and reproducible results and all of that. As a matter of fact, I have an extensive background in software engineering. I've designed some of the largest systems in the world. Did I law of attraction all these systems into existence? Well, actually, I did. That's exactly what I did, although the term hadn't been coined at that point. Now, approaching it from the point of view of science, I had to make reproducible results. I had to make the same thing work over and over again. I had to have measurements. It had to be fast enough. It had to endure outages and there was all sorts of stuff that it had to do. But the basic idea came completely out of nowhere. It just came. And the only reason I think I got it and others didn't is because of a willingness I had to allow. And what did I allow? I allowed myself to be in a very uncomfortable position, a huge problem and no solution. Now, I knew that if there was a problem, there was a solution. If there's an ear, there must be a voice. I just knew that. And I was willing to sit there long enough until the solution came to me. And I had enough faith in myself and in the whole process that I knew that when it did come, I would recognize it. But eventually, it became really clear that this was the thing, this was the approach that was going to take me all the way. Now, a lot of people thought I was nuts. I actually had for a while before I moved some of the documents people written saying this isn't going to work, right? But at any rate, all that aside, I understand what it means to be under pressure, to have things done, to need an answer in the minute, in the moment, and I am willing to just sit and be with the discomfort of not knowing long enough for some miracle to happen. And that leads me to principle number 2. You are the authority. If I can't really rely on somebody or something external confirming for me what I am seeing with my own eyes and interpreting and perceiving with my inner eye, then I have to do this. I have to accept myself as the authority. This means I need to trust myself, I need to believe myself, and I'd have to take 100% responsibility for what I see. Prove it out, try it, see if it works, and live it fully. So in the Law of Attraction 2.0, I just don't justify spiritual principles. Truth is subjective, end of story. It is self-confirming and self-evident. You confirm it through your direct experience. That actually makes it mystical. It makes it spiritual. It makes it an individual direct experience that does not need to be explained. Sure, I can tell you about these things, and I can tell you how I did them, and I can say this is the way it happened. Now, somebody else could come along and say, yeah, he did all that stuff because, and give long reasons as to why. It doesn't matter. I know what my experience was, and that's what you have to rely on for yourself. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. It doesn't matter if anybody else confirms it. I don't actually care about objective truth. I'm not interested in scientists or skeptics. They're great, they're wonderful, but I'm not interested in answering their objections. I am only interested in the quality of life, my life and your life. I'm only interested in the end of suffering, my own and yours. That's why I do this, and that's the only thing that matters. And believe me, I know that's the only thing that matters to you. So I want you to get this and get it good. I want this principle written on the back of your forehead. I am the authority. Whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you feel it or not, whether you would accept it, whether you feel all sorts of doubts welling up from inside of you, as far as the law of attraction is concerned, you're the authority. You are the king or the queen. You always have been, and you always will be. It responds to you from that point of view. So whatever you think is true, it's true. It says, yes, it is true. It doesn't matter how often, how vigorously you deny it. It doesn't matter if you try to defer to others or abdicate this authority. You can't. You thought you were the stable boy. You're actually the king who got abducted at birth. You thought you were the KitchenAid. But you have just learned that you are actually the queen. And you got taken away at birth because your evil stepmother didn't want you to know who you were, and she put you somewhere so that you think you're just a serf somewhere. Matter of fact, that's actually what all those stories are written about, that part of you, which is still in its royal purity. You are royalty. Deal with it. Principle number 3. Now, we already have recognized that the law of attraction is a metaphysical law. It's an internal law, a spiritual law. We also recognize that you cannot rely on outside evidence or confirmation to validate it. That it's an internal experience you have, and that you have to take authority for that experience so that you can have access to it and believe in your own power. Now let's take a look at the law itself. The way most people, I'm going to explain the way most people understand it. But first, I want to put out principle number 3. Principle number 3 is that the law of attraction is pure potential. Pure potential. Let me explain the way most people understand it, the way most people teach it, and of you probably do now, but only for a few minutes more. Let me show you how the way we look at it, most people look at it. Here we've got the universe. All that is, everything that could possibly be, stretching out into infinity as far as the inner eye can see. And then we have wandering around in the universe this law of attraction. Like all the other laws of the universe, it's kind of wandering around out there. Now, also inside of here, let's use green for this, there are all sorts of things that you desire. And then there's me. Little shivering me over here. This big, huge universe out there. All these things I want and I can't get. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out what it is I need to do so I can kind of connect and attract, draw these things in, lasso the moon and draw it in so I get the things that I really want to make manifest. This is most people's view of how this process works. Now, in the meantime, the Law of Attraction Committee, the actual law itself, is kind of looking at this whole thing, recognizing that you're an authority, doing its darndest to try to figure out exactly what it is it's going to do for you. So it's, there's a little discussion in the Law of Attraction community going on. So, okay, so what do we do? I don't know. What are we going to do? He's got this huge list. He's got all these things. But he never actually settles on anything. I mean, it's so confusing. First he says, I want the car. Then he says, but I really want a cool car. Then he says, well, I don't really deserve a cool car. I need to get something really practical. He says, well, that car's really cool, but it doesn't really get great gas mileage. And it's got a big carbon footprint. So I really need to get the electric car. But the electric car is so ugly. I want the cool sports car. No, that's too pretentious. I can't have that. So what do? I don't know. They all say, I don't know. Just wait and what happens? Or I don't know. Give him the Kia. Give him the used Kia. See what happens. So this is the energy that's going on here. There's no authority in it. There's no conviction. There's no solidness about it. You're waiting for the thing to come to you as proof that you have it. You're waiting for yet another external validation. In this case, the item comes to you and says, oh, I guess I must have got it. You get nothing. Maybe even a crust. The reason you don't get what you want is because your desires are scattered and they're contradictory. And this is what's being reflected back to you as your external circumstances. This isn't what's really happening. This isn't what it really looks like. It's not a genie. It's not something if you do the right ritual, you're going to get the right results. It does not withhold ever. It never holds anything back. It is constantly giving, right? It's a law. It's a metaphysical law. It doesn't make choices. It's an internal law, and it's activated by our inner state. And what is the most attractive activator? Allowing. And I don't mean just allowing the thing to come to you. I mean allowing your entire experience. The law of attraction is pure potential. It does nothing until it gets a clear, unambiguous sign. And right now, that unambiguous direction, that unambiguous sign is not forthcoming because this energy is so confusing. So what you're experiencing is this. And of course, if this is what you're experiencing, this is a reflection of what's going on in your inner world. So now let me show you what it really looks like. Let me show you what's really happening. Again, here's our universe. Universe. Here's the law of attraction doing its thing. There's no desires there. There's no objects out there waiting for anything. And now, here's you. Yes, this is inside of you. The other half of this law of attraction being pure potential is, and this is the part to get, dot, dot, dot at the end, it is not self-acting. It is actually a part of you. Without you, it has no motivation, no intention. It has no energy to start. It's got no starter button. There's nothing for it to do except it's like a lump of formless clay. It will do nothing. So where does this impulse, this energy of creation, this command for the formless to take form come from? Welcome to principle number 4.